All right, so welcome everybody. Once again, my name is Zach. I'm the clinic owner of Egoscue in Seattle, and I've been here coming up on 5 years. So my background, I'll just back up to when I first learned about Egoscue. It was in college, so I got my master's degree at Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah, exercise science. And one of my professors had actually introduced me to this method. So he had chronic back pain, scoliosis, was a golfer, and had to live on pain medication to continue playing golf until he found Egoscue and totally changed his life, got him out of pain, got him off the pain medication. So, of course, he was really enthusiastic about it, and that's where I first heard about it. And at the time, it just really made sense to me. You know, I was a personal trainer as well, and I saw how this could be something I could use to help my clients. But of course, being, you know, early 20s and thinking I was invincible, I thought this was like, couldn't apply to me. This is something for old people, right? Not, I don't need this. Well, turns out I started playing a lot of racquetball in grad school, and kept, my back and my shoulders and arm was always sore. And so I thought, well, maybe there's something to this Egoscue. I should check it out. And so the professor gave me an assessment of my posture, and I learned how crooked I was and how that was contributing to my pain. And so I started doing the exercises, and pretty much right away felt the benefit. I mean, my pain went away and I was able to keep playing racquetball at a pretty high level. So that was kind of what sold me from the beginning. And then, you know, I started implementing it with other people around me and my personal training clients, and then eventually decided I want to make a career out of it full time. So I got a job in Portland, Oregon at the Egoscue clinic there, and worked as a therapist for a little bit. And then 5 years ago, moved to Seattle. So I own it's a franchise, but, you know, I own the
stability. You're going to create more stability.
Oh, if we could just mute, thank you. And so, yeah, I've been here 5 years and still do my Egoscue menu every day. It's something that keeps me.
And that's really good, and that's really
and out of pain. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I've got 2 little girls, a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. Keep me busy when I'm not working. So does anybody have any questions before we get started here? Like I said, I wanted this to be interactive and helpful for everybody. And I got some questions ahead of time, so thanks to those who responded. But anything anybody's just dying to ask right now before we get going?
Now, what is an assessment? Like when you do an assessment, what is your fee? Because I'm interested.
Yeah. So we'll be talking about the specifics of like what the next steps are and the cost and everything at the very end. Yeah. So I'll save that for the end. Thanks. But I'll cover that for sure.
There's a tendency to want to grip and stop things with the knees, but we don't want to. We want to stop on our feet and with spring-loaded knees, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I hope it helped.
Sorry, I didn't. Is that a question? Okay. Let's see. Question in the chat. Is this something that can be done on one's own, or does it require a professional? Yeah, it can definitely be done on your own. That's how a lot of people start. So, you know, we've got this book. Well, Pete Egoscue, our founder, wrote several books. This is the most popular one, Pain-Free. So it's kind of a self-help book. You can pick that up for free from your library or get it on Amazon for.
Dina, can you share Helen's chat message?
Hey, yes. Janet, could you mute yourself, please?
Oh, I thought I had.
No worries. Thank you. Yeah, so it's definitely something that can be done on your own. I'm here to help whenever it's more complicated, basically. If you're having troubles working by yourself, you know, the books are great, but they're also very generic. So they've helped a lot of people. But sometimes you just need a professional, eye or opinion, and also helping to understand really what's going on in your body, especially when you have multiple symptoms. It can be kind of tricky. The book's kind of geared towards, oh, if you have neck pain, do these exercises. If you have back pain, do these exercises. Well, what happens when you have knee and a hip and a neck and a back and all kinds of stuff? And then I think a little more customized approach is really helpful. So, Pam, I've been doing it myself since 2009. Does get difficult. Yeah. So great. If there's anything I can do to help Pam, just let me know. So we'll talk about what the options are like here at the end, but let's get, if there's any other questions, feel free to unmute yourself or type it in the chat box. I'm going to share my screen here. Got a brief presentation, and we'll go through a couple example exercises at the end. All right. Okay, so everybody, can you see that now? It should have the logo and Egoscue Method. Okay. So just a brief background. Sounds like most people know what Egoscue is here, but there's some people I think who are brand new to this. So just in a nutshell, Egoscue, it's a posture therapy, meaning we look at your posture, the way your body alignment is set up, your shoulders, your spine, your hips, your knees, your ankles, and we use corrective exercises, stretches, movements, poses to fix it. So we believe that, for most people, chronic pain is caused by the improper alignment of the body, and that can be due to various reasons we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, I'm not a physical therapist. I'm not a chiropractor. I don't do anything but Egoscue. It's very similar to physical therapy and chiropractic in its reasoning, but we'll get into that in a minute. But the name Egoscue comes from the founder, Pete Egoscue. So I know that's always a question, like, what is that? It's a weird name. So it's his last name. It's unique, but yeah. All right, so we're talking about neck pain specifically, but really Egoscue treats just about any kind of musculoskeletal pain, any joint or muscle in your body would probably have helped with it. So just talking generically here, pain, what is it? A lot of people have this idea of pain, especially from the Western medicine side of things, that pain usually indicates that something is damaged. Something's torn, something is broken or diseased, or something needs to be fixed, changed or replaced, which can be the case, but most of the time, pain is just a warning, meaning there's not actually damage, at least not yet, but it's your body's warning system. It's just trying to communicate with you. So I'm a car person, and I like car analogies, so forgive me if I use a few today, but it's like your check engine light. When that check engine light comes on, it's a warning that something's not working the way it's supposed to. Doesn't necessarily mean anything's broken. It's just maybe you need to address something, and it could be anything. So if pain is like a check engine light, then we wouldn't want to just turn the light off, would we? We wouldn't want to just put some duct tape over it or unplug the check engine light bulb so we don't see that, or we don't feel that pain anymore. We want to understand, well, what caused the light to go off, right? And so we can fix that. So with neck pain especially, I think one thing that does make us different than most modalities, physical therapy in particular, with regard to neck pain is, and this is just a general rule with Egoscue, is the site of the pain is rarely the site of the problem. So you just look at your neck and expect to find the answers to why your neck is hurting, most likely you're going to miss it, or at least part of the problem. So, just giving you neck exercises, neck strengthening, neck stretching is only going to get you so far if it's caused by something else. And we'll talk about what that is in a minute. But so we kind of look at the whole body. That's why we look at your posture. We see you from head to toe. to figure out, okay, what's actually causing this warning system for your body, right? So a lot of people, there's a lot of excuses or reasons someone will blame their pain on. Age is a really common one. Well, I'm just getting older. Everybody my age has this, which may be true, or at least partially true, but it doesn't necessarily mean that age is actually the problem. You know, especially I like when people tell me, oh, they need knee replacement. Their right knee is worn out, bone on bone, whatever, but their left knee is okay. And so they're blaming it on age, arthritis, right? So then I ask them, how old is their other knee? Because if age was really the problem, we would expect the joints to wear out more or less the same, or at least on the right and the left side. So there's usually some kind of underlying issue, you know, something's out of balance, something's not working the way it's supposed to. Genetics, the same thing, you know, genetics may predispose you and make you more likely to have some things happen to your body, but your environment is has much more of an impact, your lifestyle, than most people give it credit. The jobs, I know right now, especially a lot of people are working from home, or they're just sitting more. They're not able to get out and do the same stuff that they would like to normally be doing, or even going to the gym. So that can definitely cause stress on your body. But the way we look at this, and I have the little caption there, sitting as a sport, train for it, you know. Everybody wants to blame sitting as the new smoking, and it's terrible, and we should all be, you know, have stand-up desks. And I think that's great, you know. Not moving is definitely a problem, but there's nothing inherently wrong about sitting. Our bodies should be able to do it. Now, if that's all we're doing, then yeah, that becomes a problem. If we're out of balance, we're not moving enough. But at Egoscue, we'd rather say, okay, you know, we can't just get rid of sitting. Like we're gonna have to sit. It's inevitable with our current modern lifestyle. That's not changing anytime soon. So why not train your body, improve your body's function so that it can handle the sitting, so that you train for it, just like you would anything else you would do for 8 hours a day. You would think, you know, makes sense. We should actually train our bodies to be able to sit if they're going to be doing that. So anyway, just a little different, just trying to hopefully change some common misbeliefs about pain in our bodies. So I like this picture. It kind of shows just in nature or in all aspects of life, there's this idea of alignment and structure is important. So in our bodies, it's the same way. That building looks like it's just one gust of wind away from falling over, because it's lost its proper alignment. It's crooked. You can see how it's kind of leaning to one side, and the forces are kind of going all over the place. So it's not vertically aligned. It's not horizontal as well. And so of course that building's not stable, and of course things are going to break, and if that were our body, things would be hurting. Those pain signals would be going off, warning us we need to change something before you fall apart. So our bodies, you know, we just look at it a very simple way. You know, our posture, it's not just standing up straight, tucking your chin. I know everybody's probably heard that from their moms when they were younger, of, you know, sit up straight or stand up straight. But it's more than that. It's about how all the joints of the body in relation to each other are supporting each other because they're in their proper position, and that allows for more efficiency. So yeah, here's a good definition of good posture. Protects against injury, deformity, and regardless of the position. So it's not just standing. You have a sitting posture, you have a lying down posture, you have posture whenever you move. You know, it's about the position of your body or how it moves or is stationary. So really our bodies were designed to move. That's really what it comes down to. We just don't move as much as we're supposed to, unfortunately, you know, but there's no reason we can't. Once again, age doesn't have to be a limitation. There's no reason why you can't continue to be active your whole life. It's just we slowly give those things up. We stop playing as much. We have to mature and, and sit still in our seats and behave and get jobs where we sit still, and then we drive in cars where we sit still, and then we go home and we watch movies on the couch, So you look at little kids, my 2-year-old and 6-year-old, they hardly ever stop moving until they fall asleep. So that's what our bodies are designed to. And when you're moving that much, you maintain all the natural function of your muscles, your joints, and as a result, your posture is nearly perfect. And you don't have any pain, or if you do get injured, you heal much quicker. So when we lose that, it's really about our loss of moving properly and moving enough and enough variety over our lives that leads to these problems. So once again, like treating the symptom versus treating the cause, the pain medication, a lot of surgeries, resting or giving up the things we love to do are just temporary solutions. They may be turning off that check engine light, but they're not fixing the reason why it was there in the first place. Is this all making sense so far? Anybody have any questions? We good? Okay, get some nods. Okay, thanks. All right, so let's talk about specifics here. We'll train you guys to be posture experts by the end of the hour here. So we've got our balanced posture, or ideal posture here from the front view. We've got 8 load-bearing joints, 2 shoulders, 2 hips, 2 knees, and 2 ankles. And they should all stack up pretty much right on top of each other. Shoulders are generally a little broader than the other joints, but they're still centered over the others. So looking at this example on the left here, you can see if we were to draw straight lines, from the center of the ankle up to the knee, to the hip, to the shoulder, and then also horizontal lines showing that the shoulders are level, the hips are level. Some other things to look for from the front, the hands. Notice on this guy, they're resting at his side. So the thumb and first finger are really the only thing visible. Now, when your shoulders are rounded or come forward, your arms end up twisting usually, or coming in front of your body. So you'll end up seeing more of the back of your hand or your knuckles. So that's something easy you can look for. Feet and knees should point straight ahead. And then that's that center line in the middle showing how the 2 sides should be even, symmetrical, mirror images, balanced. Side view, pretty similar. We've got the ankle, the knee, hip, and shoulder, and then the addition of the ear. So that should be on that same line with the other joints. Okay, so talking specifically about neck pain, let's look at some common examples of postural examples of why someone might have neck pain. Now, I just picked 4 really common ones. Doesn't mean they're the only causes of neck pain, but these are the ones we see most often in the clinic. And these are the most likely you'll see one, if not multiple of these conditions for someone with neck pain. So looking at that guy on the left, we have an elevated shoulder and hip. So you can see there's some horizontal lines there. His left shoulder is up higher and his right hip is up higher. So it's kind of making, he's got like this curve to one side almost. So that's a very common situation where the hips and shoulders are really connected. So when one loses its proper alignment, usually the other will compensate, and it can go both ways, starting from the hip or starting from the shoulder. And so we kind of have to address both. Well, we have to figure out, where it's coming from, so we can do some more functional tests to figure that out. And then, but that's going to affect the neck, because your shoulders, if you think of that as, those collarbones should be level, and if they're crooked, it's kind of like that house being veered off to the side. Now the neck is stressed out, and you can probably see his neck muscles on one side are going to be a little more developed than the other, and that just causes, more tension on the neck. And so, other parts of the body too, but we're just talking about neck today. All right, and then on the right there, we have rounded shoulders. So this is a very common posture. So you can see it from the front just by looking at the hands, right? So remember, we should only see the thumb and first finger, and her, we can see all 10 fingers, I think. So very, very turned in with the shoulder, the arm. And you can see from the side too. You can see me, my shirt's black, it hides it, but when your shoulders are back, you know, there really shouldn't be a whole lot of your back visible behind your arm. Like when your shoulders come forward, then it exposes all this back here. So that's an easy way to look at it, is, you know, how much of your back is visible from a side view. Or you can look at the front. It's two ways of looking at that. But okay, so elevated shoulder, rounded shoulders. Okay, forward head, also a very common posture problem. So forward head is kind of self-explanatory. Remember, the ear should be on that line. So you can see this guy on the left, his head is completely in front of that line. It's not even touching his head anymore. So his neck angle is just very, you know, pitched forward. He's lost that natural curve in his spine. It's all flattened out and shutted forward. And that's usually also combined with, there's going to be some rounding in his upper back and the shoulders too, but just strictly speaking about the neck, that's a really problem as well. So you can even see it like on his neck muscles there, they're like bulging, because for every, I don't know, you can look this up, the exact number, but you know, for every degree or so inches you bring your head forward, it causes your head to effectively weigh much more, you know, meaning you're putting your neck out in front. So these muscles have to work harder just to keep your head up, versus if it was stacked over your shoulder, it's almost weightless. It only weighs, you know, 10 or 11 pounds, however heavy the head is. But jutting it forward like that, it can increase that stress to something like 50 or 60 pounds if it's really dramatic. So that's a very easy way to see if, you know, your posture is causing your neck pain. Just, you know, looking at your side view, is your ear in front of the shoulder? And if it is, that's a guaranteed way to cause neck problems. So last one here on the right, we have sway back. So this one's a little more, this one's kind of a whole body issue. And what this is showing is if we follow that line, so the reference is the ankle, so the front edge of your ankle bone. So that, remember, should go up to the center of your knee, center of the hip. So who can maybe unmute yourself and tell me what's different about her posture? What's off with her side view there?
The hips are forward of that line.
Exactly. So the hips come forward. So now her hips and knees are in front of the line. And what does that do to the rest of her body? Where's her shoulder in relation to the hip? Is it stacked above it?
And then her shoulders are compensating by going backwards.
Yeah, so her shoulders are behind the line. So it's like her hips have come forward, her shoulders have come back, and then her head on top goes forward again. So I call this the zigzag posture, because you've got from the ankle up to the hip, it goes forward, hip to the shoulder, it goes back, and then shoulder to ear goes forward. So it's your body's way of balancing it out. So effectively, like, her ear is really not that far forward of the line. So she's you just looked at that, you would say, oh yeah, her head's not that far forward, but it's everything that's in between her ear and her ankle is off. And so this is a really common posture I see a lot with people who are sedentary, or if you've been sitting a lot. You know, I see this even in young people who are, you know, working tech jobs on computers all the time. And it's basically caused by the hips shutting off or becoming so deconditioned or not being used enough that the pelvis just is kind of bailed out in front. It doesn't have the strength or the stability to maintain proper load underneath the shoulders and above the ankles. So it kind of pushes out in front, and then your upper back becomes extra rounded, and you know, you become kind of in that sway position. So, and the head is affected too. The head comes forward. So that's why if you have a sway back, like you could do all the neck exercises in the world and it's not going to fix your problem until you fix the hips, because they're forward. So your neck, you can't, you know, if she were to, this picture, if she were to try to pull her head back to where it's actually in line with the rest of her spine, she'd be like looking up at the ceiling almost, because of the angle of the rest of her body, right? So we have to get those hips back, get the upper back to start to straighten out, and then the head can actually rest at a normal position. So does that make sense? Right. So now it's time for you guys to practice. Here's a real client of mine. Good example. We've got several different posture issues going on here. So taking a look at that, who can tell me one or two things that look off or different compared to the ideal posture?
His knees are bowed,
Yeah, good.
and he has an anterior pelvic tilt, rounded shoulders, forward head.
Yeah, good. So for those who aren't familiar, anterior pelvic tilt means that the pelvis, you can see from the side view how his belt line, his shorts are kind of sloped down in the front and up in the back. So it's tipped, the pelvis is tipped anterior or forward. You can also tip it posterior backwards, which would be the opposite, you know, kind of the butt being tucked under like that. So good. Anything else?
Thoracic offset.
Yeah, so he's not centered on the red line from the front. You can see that line's not in the middle of his body. He's off to his left. Yeah.
Forward, kind of, isn't it?
The head or the
Yeah.
hips or both. Everything.
Both.
Yeah.
Something's wrong.
Yeah, it just doesn't look right. Yeah, so the hips, once again, he has a little bit of that sway back. He's not quite sway back. He's more just,
Kyphotic.
everything is pitching forward. Like, yeah, he's kind of standing on his toes almost. So, yeah, definitely his head is pretty far in front of that line as well.
Kyphosis.
Kyphosis, or that rounding, excessive rounding in the upper back. You can see that kind of behind in his shoulder blade area.
His right hip is higher than his left hip.
Yeah, yeah.
His
So he's got,
left shoulder is a little higher, so it looked like that first picture you showed us.
yeah, so he's got the elevated hip / shoulder as well. Can you all see that? I know that the lighting's a little harsh on his right side, but just looking at his waist, you can kind of see how it doesn't look the same on his right and left side. And then his shoulders, you can see kind of the top of his collarbone is poking up a little higher on his left. So
He has a narrow stance with slightly averted feet, maybe right more than left.
yep, so his feet are a little too close together and turned out. Yeah, so a lot going on here. So, and he, you know, you could have pain anywhere. You know, that's kind of the point of this, is like your posture affects everything. All his joints they're all connected, right? So, I mean, he could have pain anywhere from his ankle up to his neck. He actually did have neck and specific, but more low back issues, but here he was a few months later.
Wow.
Okay, so what looked different?
Everything.
Pretty much everything, besides wearing a shirt.
Yeah. I think if you start from the ground up, the feet position is really dramatic. I mean, they're really straight, maybe slightly wider than what we would call Freddy function, but what a huge difference.
Yeah, looks a lot more stable now, right? All those joints stacked up, like, you know, vertical from his ankles up to his knees, to his hips, shoulders. Look at that side view too. Where's the red line there, here versus there? You know, huge change in his spine position. His ears actually touching the line now. And once again, did we change his neck a whole lot? Not really. I mean, look at everything below it. So his hips actually aren't as far forward, which means his back isn't having to, you know, round as much, which means his head is on top of his shoulders now. So Can't really see the hips as well because of shirt, but just judging by his shoulders looking more level, you know, his hips I think were more level too. Yeah, so yeah, and this is really what Egoscue is about, is, you know, yes, I helped, but really the client does all the work. Like the client, you're doing the exercises or the stretches on a daily basis typically. So this is something you can change for yourself. You don't have to rely on some fancy device or somebody to manipulate your body into this position. This is just the result of moving and doing proper movement and restoring balance to your muscles. So yeah.
That was in a couple of months that changed for him?
Yeah, that was a matter of months. I don't remember exactly what the dates were between those sessions, but it's more than a few weeks, less than a year for sure. Several months, I think. So yeah, and these posture issues, you remember, typically develop over long periods of time. You know, they don't just change overnight unless you're hit by a car or something. Usually it's, you know, years and years of patterns. So it doesn't take that years to undo it, but it can take some time. And usually there's results relatively quickly, and it's just, you know, it's just a matter of time for them to become, you know, really drastic. But here's an example. Younger guy, picture's a little smaller, but hopefully you can see that. This was much quicker, and he's younger too. So typically the younger you are, the quicker your body will change. But like I said, age isn't a limiting factor. I'll show you some more senior examples, experienced folks here in a minute. But this guy is, he's like 17, I think. Plays on the computer a lot, as you can imagine, judging by his posture on the top, at least. So you can see like the head forward, you know, his pelvis is kind of just really kind of sunk under, like he's just looks saggy, like his knees are bent, his shoulders are caved in, or they were at least. And this was only, I think, maybe a month or two. So you can see the position is in his hands from the front, how they're resting in front of his body, knuckles visible, versus now his arms at the side. So big change in his shoulders, much less stress on his neck now for sure. Here's someone really young, scoliosis. Once again, the younger you are, the easier it is to correct these things, but I've worked with plenty of people with scoliosis, adults, and through all ages. While we may not expect to totally change the curvature of your spine if you're already full grown, we can definitely improve, you know, the balance of the other low joints and keep it from getting worse for sure. But this just shows how, you know, muscles are control the bones. So if we can get the muscles in better balance, all your bones are going to be in better alignment. So this is just kind of an extreme example, but I like to show this. This was just after one session. So this was like a matter of hours before and after. This is a client from one of our Japan clinics, so not mine, but this lady, the story was she was worked in the rice fields her whole life. So she's basically bent over picking, you know, the crops. And of course, her body adapted to that. It does what it's supposed to, right? It responds to our environment. So it was serving her. It was helping her make it easier for her to do her job. But over time, you know, it makes it a lot harder to do other things like stand up. So yeah, big changes there in your posture. And a couple more, just once again, showing different ages that anybody can get these same results. On the right there, we have someone who's 80. She's an avid backpacker and photographer and blogger, which is really cool. But she was, you know, kind of getting limited because of her back and neck problems. I think she had stenosis, arthritis, you know, you name it. At that age, it's pretty common, but this just goes to show it's never too late to change your posture. And as a result, she felt better, no more pain, was able to keep hiking. And on the left, we have a younger guy, really active, strong, but yet still out of balance. You can see how forward everything was for him, and how that changed, obviously. So, okay, so now for the fun part, we're going to stop sharing. And see, got some chat. So that was just about the posture. Okay. So now we're going to, this is where everybody gets involved. So if you're wearing shoes, please take them off. You can put your socks on. But we're going to do a little self-assessment. Typically, if you, when I do these in person, I actually take everyone's pictures so you can actually see your posture, but we can't do that today. But one way that you can assess yourself is to just stand barefoot or with socks. So everybody just kind of stand on the ground, march in place a little bit. All right, shake it out, and then just hold still and close your eyes. Don't look at your feet, just put them wherever they feel is natural for you. Take a deep breath in and out and relax. And with your eyes closed, so you can just kind of tune into what you're feeling, I want to have you pay attention to your feet and notice where you feel the pressure on the feet or the weight distributed on your feet. So is it the same on the right and left? Is it different? And where specifically do you feel it? Is it on the heel more, or on the ball of the foot? Is it more on the outer edge or the inner edge? So just kind of notice that. There's no right or wrongs here. We're just observing. So, and as you get a sense for what that is, also notice any pain you might be having right now or tension you feel in your body, just how you feel in general, maybe energy-wise, or just get a baseline here. So who wants to share what they're feeling right now with their weight distribution or anything else?
I noticed that I put a little more weight toward the ball of my big toe. Both feet, but more on the right.
More on the right, okay.
Mine's on the heels.
More on the heels for Lori. Anybody else? So it should feel, I guess you might want to know what we're looking for. With a balanced body, like with our perfect example there, you should feel the same thing on both sides, right? Symmetry. So 50-50 right and left foot. And then the ball of the foot, so kind of the pad underneath your toes, and the heel should carry most of the weight. So 50-50 front to back, basically. And pretty evenly spread from the inner edge, like the big toe side to the pinky toe side. So anything that's different than that is just a sign or signal that your body is just not quite stacked up perfectly. Something's not in the position it's supposed to be, and that's just changing where the weight is distributed. So maybe you're carrying more weight on one side, or you're pitched forward so you feel more on the ball of your feet. Or maybe you're kind of tucked under and backwards, might feel it more on your heels. There's lots of scenarios. So just kind of get a baseline there. We're going to try some exercises now, and then we'll check it again afterwards. So let me make sure you guys can see. All right, so now a disclaimer about the exercises. I don't want you to do anything that hurts. So if anything we do here doesn't feel comfortable, don't force yourself to do it. You can just chime in and just say, hey, is there something else I can do? I'm feeling whatever. Let me know. I can give you a modification, or just listen to your body. So you don't have to do all of these if it doesn't feel good. I tried to pick ones that everybody could try, and just remembering that there's so many different postures and so many different symptoms. Like, these exercises are not going to be perfect for everyone, but it should give you at least an idea. And of course, anyway, so just keep that in mind. So the first thing we're going to do, this is I'm going to have you guys get on the floor if you don't mind. So just for this one, then the other two, we're going to stand up. So I just have these blocks, but you can just use a chair. So just a normal chair works great. A couch would work, a coffee table. Basically, you're just going to lay on the ground and put your legs up. So we're just trying to get to about a 90-degree angle. So you can see 90 degrees at the hips and 90 degrees at the knees. So for most people, that's like about 18 to 24 inches high. So a chair works great. So you'll be flat on your back, scoot your butt right up against whatever it is your legs are on. Your arms are on the floor and the palms, the hands are facing up. And your arms are just kind of at a comfortable distance from your body, roughly 45 degrees out. You're not way up at your shoulders. You're also not right at your side. You're kind of somewhere in the middle. And just relax. So breathe and notice when you first lay down, is your low back flat on the ground or is there some space there? And if it is, I don't want you to forcefully flatten it. If you notice there's a little arch there, that's fine. Just breathe and relax. I don't want you to push your back into the ground. Just relax. But if it is arched, you should notice over time that that arch flattens. So your back should just drop into the floor eventually if it's not already. Now, if this is uncomfortable on your neck, if, for example, if your head if your neck's really tight, your head is forward, sometimes putting a little pillow or rolled up towel or something under your head can make it more comfortable. But if you're okay with it, it's best to be flat on your back. So anybody have any questions about this one? Can't see. I see lots of ceilings, so that's good. Everybody's on the floor, I think. Yeah, so basically this is a really passive exercise, meaning you're not really moving or trying to contract anything. You're just—
I got a question.
Hold it. Yeah.
When you're laying down like that, it usually takes me about a half an hour or so, but the tops of my feet will start hurting.
And you're laying there for a half hour?
About that, yeah. Any idea why? I stop.
Yeah.
And then when I go to put my foot down for the progressive, it gets worse. So I don't do that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Well, I don't know off the top of my head why that would be the case. I'd have to maybe look at what's going on with the rest of your body. My first thought was, or question would be, why you're doing static back for a half hour.
Because it feels good.
Yeah. On the rest of your body. Not your feet.
But I think my feet are telling me that it's time to get up. So I do. But
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I think you're probably right. So I was gonna say personally, like you can hold this as long as you want, but typically somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes is usually plenty. Standard is 5. So I usually tell people to do 5 minutes. You can do more if you want, but 30 seems kind of excessive. So
maybe that's why.
Body's way of saying, yeah, hey, we need to move some more. We can't lay here forever. So yeah. Yeah, good question. Anybody else?
Oh, sorry. Can you ask my question?
I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Oh, there we go.
Now we can.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, I really like this exercise. So you said 5 minutes. Would that be every day, 5 minutes?
At least, yeah. I mean, the exercises, the more often you can do them, the quicker your body's going to respond to them. So we typically recommend at least once a day, but you can do them more often than that too. Yeah, 5 minutes is just kind of the general guideline. Like, Pam obviously likes to hold it longer, so there's nothing wrong with that. It just kind of depends on what your goal is, but yeah, typically a daily thing.
And so it could be like scattered throughout the day, for example, just as a time to just rest your back. Maybe if you've been working, just
Right.
Helps.
Yeah. I do this one sometimes several times a day. When I've got a break at work, I'll get down on the floor. When I get home from work or before bed, throw my legs up again. You know, it's as you can probably feel, it takes a lot of tension off your back. It gets your head, your shoulders, your hips in proper alignment again. The arm position helps to unround your shoulders. So there's a lot of benefits here. But remember, it is passive. So this alone, if you just did this, it would feel good and it might fix some of your problems, but we're going to follow it up with some actual like movement and work because you can't just relax your way out of pain forever. You know, you got to get your muscles to actually do their jobs too. This is just kind of a way to start and get a good foundation. So, all right. Anybody having troubles with this one, or you want to just stay here the rest of the day? We're gonna make you stand up again. Sorry, but so now we're going to need a wall or a closed door would work fine. You just need a flat vertical surface. So let me show you. Got a question here. Okay, Elizabeth said, my dad has real pain in static back. He has a non-existing anterior tilt. Should he do it at all? Elizabeth, can you clarify? So he does not have an anterior tilt, or he does? Oh, you're still muted. Oh.
So his pelvis is tucked under.
Oh, so he's posterior.
Okay, yeah. That's it then.
Yeah, for posterior, you may not, I mean, it kind of depends. He may still benefit from static back because I'm guessing his upper back, his thoracic back is probably like that, pretty rounded. Yeah, exactly. So he might benefit just for the sake of getting his, upper back to change, but it's not, obviously, since he's already posterior, his pelvis is already, his low back is already going to be flat on the floor. So it may still work for him, but you said he has pain when he does it?
Yeah.
Where does he have pain? In his low back? His upper back?
Yes, his lower back. It was really painful for him.
What did you try any other positions that were more comfortable for him?
Well, I actually told him to roll up a blanket and lay there forever, but it's too painful for him. So I'm a bit afraid I'm hurting him.
Yeah, I would, typically when the back is that flexed and if he's older and his spine is probably pretty rigid. So you just have to find typically positions where, first of all, he's more comfortable. So that may mean instead of putting his legs up at 90 degrees, have him in the hook lying position, if you're familiar. So just putting the feet on the ground. So your knees are bent still, but your feet are on the ground. So that should encourage a little bit more extension in his low back. It might be a little more comfortable because it won't put as much pressure on his low back. Or you might try like some sitting exercises. Sitting is a good position for someone who's really posterior and flexed like that. So you kind of just have to figure out first off where he's most comfortable and work from there. But my first thought would be try hook lying, feet on the ground. So just in case, this position, just feet on the floor, or sitting, or even standing. You can do a lot of stuff standing if being on the floor is painful. So yeah, once again, you just want to listen to the body. If it's painful, then it just means maybe he's not ready for it yet. You're probably not doing any damage, but just listen to his body and don't force anything.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Let's see, was there another question? Could you share your daily routine? Yeah. Let me show the rest of the exercises first. So we are at the wall, and so you're going to face parallel with the wall. Put your arm out to the side, so you're about an arm's length from the wall. Fingers are spread open. So your arm is about as high as your shoulder. You're still square this way, so you're not twisting, you know, keep your body straight. And then this is important. You can see how my shoulder wants to come up like that, right? So I want you all to pull your shoulder blade down. So think about pulling your shoulder into your back pocket, and both shoulders actually. So you're squeezing your shoulder blades together and down. Your arm is straight, so lock your elbow out. Now just standing right here, who feels like this is hard, like this is a stretch just to stand like that? Anybody? Yeah, so now you're going to twist the arm so it will look like this. You rotate your elbow in and out. And notice I'm not doing this, so you don't want to let your shoulder blade come up. You keep it down and just twist the arm. So you're rotating in the shoulder socket, but keeping the hand on the wall. So let me just look at you guys do that. Yeah, and if this, you know, this of course requires some flexibility in the hand and the wrists. You can modify by going a little higher. That'll make less strain on the wrist if you can't get your arm straight. Okay, so once again, keep those shoulder blades pinched back and down. Now let's try the other arm, okay? So spin around, put your other arm on the wall. Get your shoulders back, down, hold them there as you twist. And then compare your two arms and notice like, hey, did both my arms rotate equally well, or did one side feel stuck? Or maybe I can't even get my arm to rotate on one side. Like just notice those differences, and that could be an indication that maybe if you have a shoulder asymmetry, one side higher than the other, that could be the case. Maybe one shoulder is more rounded.
Question?
Oh, go ahead.
I noticed on one side that my hand needed to be higher up the wall to be comfortable. Is that significant too?
Yeah, well, it could be, once again, there's some kind of asymmetry in your shoulders that's requiring you to have to modify that. Or it could be in your wrist. I mean, if your wrist is just not cool enough to get that 90-degree bend,
right? Okay.
That could be an issue. So for this one, I would typically do like 3 sets of 10, you know, so do 10 on your right, 10 on your left, just go back and forth. So just maybe try a couple sets here while I'm talking. Chris asked, is it normal to get a Charlie horse in the middle finger? Hopefully from this exercise and not doing something else. But yeah, I mean, well, is it normal? It can happen. I mean, you could feel this anywhere from your fingers up into your forearms, up into your arm, to your shoulder blade. So that's all connected. So yeah, I mean, I personally feel it in my fingers and then like through my forearms. But so this is a really good way, especially if you've been on a computer a lot, you know, your wrists are in this flex position. So we're getting a wrist extension, we're getting the shoulder to open up, rotating in the joint there, and you're also getting your shoulder blades, your scapula, to engage and stabilize properly. So it's really good for all kinds of shoulder issues you might have.
I have a question. Yeah, like I really felt the tightness here.
Mm-hmm.
But like when you're doing it, like how can I be aware that I'm not like lifting my shoulder as I'm turning? Like what should I be looking for?
Well, you can do it in front of a mirror, or even just like on Zoom here, you can pull up your camera on your computer and watch. If you see that shoulder moving up, you know, it shouldn't really move a whole lot. Like it should stay level here.
Okay.
So that's really what you should look for. Sometimes it's hard to feel if it's moving or not. It's best to just visually look at it. So
great, thank you.
Okay, let's do one last exercise here. We're going to use our wall again. This time, I'm going to turn and face the wall. Let's see if I can get my whole body in the shot. Okay, can you guys still hear me from back here?
Yeah.
All right, so you're going to put both hands on the wall, just once again about shoulder height, and fingers open, elbows straight. Then step back about a foot, so you're kind of leaning into the wall a bit. lock your knees, so tighten up your quads, tighten up your arms, and then bend forward at the hips. So your hips are going to go back and your chest is going down. And you want to get your feet far enough from the wall so that you feel some pressure on your toes, not just on your heels. Your legs should basically be vertical once you're down in the position. So, and then you're going to tilt your pelvis forward so you have a little arch in your back here. So we don't want to do this. We want to do this. And then your head just kind of stays straight in line with your spine. If that's hard on your neck, you can let your neck relax and just drop your head. Or, but if that's, ideally you would keep it more like this. Okay, so it's kind of like downward dog, but with your hands on the wall, basically. So focus on tightening your quads, tilting your hips forward to feel like your tailbone is sticking up in the air. And you should feel a stretch down the backs of your legs and maybe up in your upper body too. Just depending on where you're tight, it may be in your arms, it may be in your shoulder or upper back. Looking good, everybody, that I can see at least. So that's usually a 1 minute stretch. Don't hold your breath, keep breathing. Let's go just a little bit longer. Okay, that's probably good. Come on up. All right. Let's reassess now. So let's just kind of shake it out, march in place, and then close your eyes and check in with your feet again. And tell me who feels something different now than we did a few minutes ago. Chris, yeah, what feels different? Chris, do you mind sharing?
So before I felt it mostly in my heels and the outer edges of my feet. And now I feel the same between the heels and the balls of my feet.
Nice.
I just feel better balance. Yeah.
Yeah, front to back.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Oh, good. Who else? Did someone else raise their hand? Jeanette?
I feel a lot less pressure on my big toe than I did the first time. It's like it feels evenly dispersed across the front.
Yeah, you were a little more on your right, if I remember.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Yeah, I'm more even between the 2 feet and more even across the foot itself.
Awesome. Cool. Anybody else?
Mine moved to the balls of my feet.
You were on your heels.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. So,
like Chris, I feel more balanced. I just felt more relaxed, more balanced.
Good. So why do you think your feet feel different if all we did was some shoulder and, upper body exercises, basically?
Got more balanced, I guess.
Yeah. So if you think, okay, well, why did I feel more pressure on my right foot to begin with, right? So I don't really know without seeing your whole posture, but I'm, basically something was out of alignment, whether it was your hips or your shoulders or both. So that was causing you to have more pressure in one spot than another. So just by doing these 3 simple movements, we affected the whole body. And as a result, you can feel more balanced in your feet. You're distributing your weight better. If you were to go walk right now, you'd be walking better. And you probably feel better too. Anybody actually feel like, oh, I feel like less tension, or if you had pain before, maybe that's better. So, yeah.
I was actually pretty tired, and I feel like that was energizing.
Oh, yeah, great. Awesome.
So I had a deep pain in my right hip to start with, that it was hard to pay attention, and like there is no pain. What did you do?
Yeah. Oh, must be magic. Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's let me share my screen again. Okay. All right, we did the exercises. Yeah, so that just shows how, I mean, 3 simple movements, so one wasn't even a movement, you were just laying on your back, can affect your body. And that was, once again, somewhat generic. There's how many people on here, and not everyone's going to respond the same way, but it just shows how your body can respond pretty quickly, right? Your pain in your hip, Janet, it's like, what did you think was causing your pain before? What have you blamed that on? Is it arthritis or your age?
I thought it was my hip. I thought something was wrong with my hip, but I think it's my posture, what you seem to be talking about here.
Right. So that's all that changed, right? Was your posture, right? That's why
right.
Home is like, if you've been told, oh, your pain is due to stenosis, or your pain is just, genetic, or you have to deal with it, or, you need a back surgery, like, you still have arthritis after doing these exercises, yet your pain isn't there. So therefore, pain isn't caused by the arthritis, right? We didn't make the arthritis go away. We didn't change your age. We didn't, all we did was move your body, change your position, change your body's, how you're using your body. And as a result, and this is just, of course, a very, short, simple example, but imagine if we were doing like a full, 30-minute routine of exercises specifically tailored to you. So those were just some generic ones, but yeah. So we're wrapping up here. I know we're going a little bit over time, so thanks for sticking with me, but the next steps. So hopefully you found today helpful. If you're still skeptical, or you just have questions and you're like, oh, I don't know if this seems kind of weird, like, I don't know if I believe this, that's totally fine. It's good to be skeptical. I'd recommend reading the book, Pain Free, that I mentioned earlier. If you haven't already, whether you're skeptical or not, I think you should read the book. I mean, that's just a good resource, and no better place to get your questions answered than the founder himself. Now, if you feel like you need guidance and you're like, okay, this is kind of making sense, but how does it apply to me? I've got all these other issues, and like maybe those exercises didn't feel good, but you just have questions, you want some one-on-one guidance, let me know. Schedule a free consultation. We can do a posture evaluation over Zoom. I can have you take some pictures of yourself, email them to me. We can put those lines on there just like we did with those examples, see exactly where your posture is off and see how that might be causing your pain. And then we can answer your questions from there. So that's an option for you. Now, if you're feeling like, okay, this Egoscue stuff really makes sense, I think it's something that I need, and it, I can feel and see the benefit, and I want to pursue this, then great, we'd love to partner with you and help you change your body for the better. So the best way to do that is, so our therapy program, just to briefly describe what that looks like, we meet one-on-one. Sessions are typically an hour. The first one takes a little bit longer just because we're getting to know you and going through the first assessment. But basically, we have to figure out what's causing your pain first, right? So we go through the assessment. We'll also look at your gait, how you're walking, how you're moving, just to figure out all the pieces of the puzzle that might be contributing. And then we put together a series of exercises. We call it a menu. So kind of like what we did today, but a little more specific to what your posture is. And then we'll show you how to do that. So you'll get access to our app, which will have all your instructions, videos, pictures for everything you need to do, with a timer built into it. So you just follow along each day. So you do your exercises every day, and typically on a weekly basis or as needed, meeting with your therapist to make sure that you're doing things correctly. And as your body changes, we also need to change the exercises. So that's the other important thing that you don't really get from the book is, your body's going to adapt. These exercises are going to get easier. Your body's going to get more balanced. Your symptoms might change. So then the exercises need to change as well. And so it's a process. But all those examples we showed before that had this great transformation, they went through the process, did their exercises, got the follow-up they needed to really make this a lasting change. And then it's it's also something that you're not going to have to meet with someone forever. Like, our goal is to get you independent, so teach you the things you need to do so you can do it on your own. And so we offer a couple different therapy packages, 16 sessions or 8 sessions. As a thank you for coming today, I'm giving 15% off if you sign up in the next week. So by next Monday, if you schedule something, we can take 15% off there, brings the cost down quite a bit. And the 16 sessions can also be shared with a friend or family member or members. So that way you get a better price per session, and you can have multiple people use that. So yeah, that's about it. Does anybody have any other questions that didn't get answered yet?
Any questions?
No. I have a question. Just to clarify, so then this is doing this on Zoom with your therapist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you can do it both ways.
So how do we make an appointment with you? How do we do that?
Give me a call or shoot me an email is best, or you can go
Email.
Yeah, email seattle@egoscue.com. You can also go to egoscue.com and on the website and find my, there's multiple locations across the country, but find the Seattle location and you can contact me through the website. Yeah, so the Zoom sessions work the same as in person, since this is a hands-off approach. Like, we don't have to physically touch you or manipulate or adjust or anything. It's all just exercise and strength. As long as we can see each other, just like today, if we were on a Zoom, just me and you, I'd, have you on your laptop and you're doing your stretches, and maybe move the camera around and put it on the floor so I could see better, or, as long as we can see each other, it works just great. So we've been doing the virtual sessions for years, not just because of COVID. So
what are your hours, Zach?
Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 usually.
Okay.
Pacific time. Yeah, so the sessions are the same cost, same time, same results, whether you do it in person or over Zoom. So
cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
One more. Would you have time to share a little bit your routine? Is that possible, or if not, it's not a problem?
I'm sorry. Can you speak up a little bit?
Yes, I'm going to get closer to my computer. Sorry. You mentioned at the beginning that you have a little routine that you go through every day. Would it be possible to hear what your routine is if there's time? If not, no worries, but I wanted to know.
Yeah, so my routine, so I have, well, I'll just tell you what I'm doing right now. I do upper spinal floor twist. So it's a twist on the floor, kind of focusing on the upper back and shoulder. And then I do some other stuff for my shoulders. So my main posture issue is like my shoulders and my upper back is like really tight. So really upper body dominant. So I do a lot to work on that. So I'll do some things on the floor where I'm on my back, doing some of this and this. And then I go over onto my hands and knees and do some cats and dogs or cat-cow, like in yoga. And then that's, let's see, twist, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so that I do those. Oh, and then static back, the one that I showed you guys. So I do that several times a day usually. So that's kind of like my bare minimum I do just to like maintain my current level right now. But depending on the day, depending on how I'm feeling, I'll add different things in. It's an evolving process. If I am feeling some pain, then I might have to do something differently. But that's kind of my just bare minimum. That it's kind of like brushing my teeth. It's just a habit now, and it keeps me functional. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think I'll let everybody go here. So thanks again for participating. And like I said, let me know if you want to schedule a free consultation, or if you want to sign up for doing some therapy, or just want to talk about it. Give me a call. And yeah, I'll be following up with everybody in the next day or so. So yeah, thank you and have a good day.